Hi, this is Joyce Zook, talking to you today about how do we love our marriages. We're specifically looking at 25 different marriage problems. And the one we're talking about today is people who say they don't spend any time together. They have no time for each other. They never take vacations. They don't have time for dates. They don't sometimes even have time for sex or to talk. I've had some clients come to me with this problem, and it's really a struggle. And what they want is they want me to solve the specific problem, like how do we go on a date, or how do we get a vacation, or how do we find time for sex, or how do we just find time to talk? And we could talk about that. We could talk about, how do you organize your calendar? What do you do with your calendar? How are you going to organize it? And how are you going to get it together? And we could go there. But there's so many things out there on how do you organize your time, how do you find time, that I think we need to look at a deeper issue. Why do we not have time for each other? I mean, we got to look at the basic bottom line of this. There are some really deep things that I found. I had one client, and she came to me, and she was had a part-time job, had two school-age children. Her husband was busy. He was working off and home for work during the week and came home on the weekends, and she just felt like they never saw each other. And when he was home, he was tired, and so I said, "So when do you spend time together?" She says, "We don't." So I gave her a little priorities test that I have. And I call it priorities for life, or balance your life. And I have discovered people who don't have time for their spouses, their husbands, their wives, usually have their priorities out of order. What do I mean? What do I mean by that? How do we get back to that? Well, I want to tell you that this gal I worked with her for about 3 months, 9 different sessions. And over that time, we figured out that she just hadn't spent any time set aside for her husband. She was spending it all on the kids, all on the part-time job, all in the house, and had no time left for him. And so I've talked with another gal. She said, "Well, we just don't talk. We don't even have any time to talk, and we haven't had sex in ages." And I said, "Well, how much time do you spend with your husband?" And well, when we do, we're yelling at each other. I said, "Okay, so what's your work schedule like?" She was working full time, and she said, "Well, I have to work 5 days a week. I usually work good 9 hours a day, and then it was an hour drive back and forth to work." So she was gone 11 hours a day for that. Didn't have any children, but had a household to take care of. I said, "Well, what about the weekends?" She goes, "Well, I often have to work on the weekends too." And she said, so we got to talking about that, and I said, "Do you have to work on the weekends?" And she said, "Well, I have to do X number of hours that are required overtime hours." I said, "Oh, that's kind of an interesting job." But then we got on to describe it. And I realized as we talked, she realized that she was not only doing the number of hours that were required, she was doing way and beyond that. So we talked about why. We talked about what the purpose was. We talked about what she was leaving out of her life when she spent that much time on the extra hours. And she figured out that she didn't have to spend quite that many hours. And in the process, as we were coaching over the several months we were coaching, she got a raise, then she got a promotion and got another raise. And she cut back on her hours. She became a much happier person. So what do I mean by we have our priorities out of order? Well, let's just talk about this. How are we going to find time for this guy that we love, when we have no time to talk, no time for dates, no time for marriages, no time for sex? Well, it's usually because we filled our life up with everything else. I don't know what's got your life so busy, but this is one of the common problems that people talk about today, is how busy their lives are. And then we wonder why so many marriages are falling apart. Well, that one girl I was telling you about, the first one, she actually wrote me a praise report afterwards, and she said, "I had my priorities way out of order, and my husband wasn't even on my priorities list." She says, "When I got him back on my priorities list, not only did it save my marriage, my whole household was happier. The kids were happier. I was happier. Her husband even got a promotion, got to move to another place where he could work from home or be home a lot more often. I think they bought a horse farm, and they were doing all kinds of things, and she was able to work from home, and it all changed." Now, I'm not saying that just that, but she got her heart in line with what God wanted her to be doing. That's the basic principle, to get your heart in line with what God wants. So where do we start? Well, dear friends, I'm going to share with you the 7 priorities that years ago God shared with me. And I was homeschooling our 2 boys at the time. My husband was at a busy military job. He was also a music minister in a local church. So we had responsibilities of the church. We had responsibilities with the military, a lot of social engagements there. I was involved in 3 different Bible studies. The boys were on a swim team and swam 5 days a week and had swim meets on the weekends. And I didn't like my life. I felt like it was all out of whack, and my husband and I weren't getting along, and the kids were, it was just cranky. Everybody was cranky. You know, the whole thing, when mom is cranky, everybody is, or when mom ain't happy, nobody is. Well, that's the truth. And as I was going through that time, God showed me that to find time for the things that were important, I had to be doing the things that God said were important. Well, what's important? I asked God. And he led me to a verse in Mathew that said, "Come unto me, all you who are weary and heavy laden," which is usually why we don't have any time for dates, sex, vacations, all that stuff. But God says, "And I will give you rest." He says, "Let me teach you." I love that version because I'm teachable. I hope you're teachable. And I said, "Okay, God, teach me how to find your rest." So he showed me these priorities. I'll go ahead and put these in the comments too, so you'll get them. And you can see them, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. But the first priority in our life as a believer is our time with God. And most of the time, gals who I'm talking with who don't have time for any of the things we've mentioned aren't spending any time with the Lord at all. If that's you, I suggest you find a way. Look for a devotion on your phone. Get a regular devotion sent to your phone. I like the U version of the Bible, and get on my phone and read the verse of the day, and often read the chapter too. Or read a proverb a day from your paper Bible, hardback. Spend some time with the Lord. The second priority we have is to take care of our own health. When we take care of our health, we give ourselves and our husbands a wonderful gift. You know, I can tell you folks, it's so much more fun to do fun things, whether it's vacations or sex or whatever you're going to do, when you feel healthy, when you feel like you're in good shape, when you like yourself, you like the way you look. So take care of yourself. It's a second priority. God says that the Holy Spirit actually indwells us. And when he does, that means he's residing in us. And therefore, this is what God's given me to do his work. Other places talk about we are his vessel to do his work. We are the pot he made to do his work. And if we don't take care of it, we're not taking care of what God made. So I want to encourage you to do that. Our third priority is our husbands. Notice we have the 2 things: God first, taking care of our own physical health so that we can then take care of everyone else. And the first place there is our husbands. I know there's all kinds of other things that need to be on that list, but this is the one that we often get mixed up. And that's why marriages break up, is because we don't save time in our lives for our husbands. We find all these other things to do. And yeah, they're good things. Often they're very good things, but they're not what God wants us to be doing. So I want to encourage you, find some time for your husband. Let's talk about the other priorities and what can get involved there. The fourth priority is our children. Now that may involve any sort of dependent that you have. That might be an elderly parent you're taking care of. It might be stepchildren who come every other weekend. It might be your nieces and nephews that you've taken into the house. It might be grandchildren. Whoever it is, whoever you're responsible for in the way of people, that is what I put in this children category. They come, notice, after our husbands. God made us one with our husbands, and then he gives that couple, children. And therefore, it's God first, then our husband, and then the children. Many times women mess that up, and we put the kids way up above our husbands. But you know, one of the best gifts we can give our husbands is a great relationship with our husband. I can give our kids is a great relationship with their husband. When they see a healthy couple, when they see a couple madly in love with each other, even after, like my husband and I have been married 40 years, and we definitely make sure we set aside time to have dates. It is a choice we make. We take our calendars and we work it out. We figure it out. But why? Because I put him up there at that higher priority, and he's put me up there at that priority level. when we're at each other's priority level like that, we find time for it. So find time for your mate. Why? Because we learn to put the kids' priorities where they belong. Fifth in our priority list is taking care of our husbands. And not our husbands. I've got this all mixed up. God, health, husbands, children, and then your home. Your home doesn't have to look like it's going to be on HGTV. Believe me, when they come in to do that, they stage it all. They open up cupboards and drawers and put things in them. My house wasn't on HGTV, but I had a professional stager come in right before they took pictures of the house we were going to sell. And they'd open up a drawer and shove stuff in there. They open up a closet and shove stuff in there. So that it all looked just perfect for the pictures. They hide those cords so nobody can see them. They make sure there isn't too much stuff over here, that nothing's blocking that sightline view so it looks really big and long. It's all staged. It's not the way we live. I mean, I'm neat and tidy, but I'm not that neat and tidy. I can tell you that. So, but that's taking care of your home so it meets your family's needs. That's number 5. Number 6 is developing your God gifts, talents, and abilities. This is fun, friends in the future. How we have fun with our life and we enjoy life. And this is when I talk about put that happy smile on your face and my happy list. I also talk about developing your natural abilities. Is it time for you to develop a part-time business? I help women do that with my business basics course. And so we can have these things. We can develop. It's when how I got my education and studied beyond my bachelor's degree to go ahead and study to get a diploma in biblical counseling, certified in biblical counseling, and study again to be a professional life and marriage coach because I pursued additional training. I developed those gifts and talents God's with me. Maybe yours is to bake beautiful cakes. Maybe yours is to fix cars and fix them up. I know some gals really love that. Whatever it is, it's pursuing your gifts and talents. And then we serve others. So these are a couple places that we can get our priorities in line. For me, when God first showed me this list and I started making out my priorities list, I realized I had this huge list of things to do for others. And I wasn't doing anything for me. So how do we make time? Let's just start with one, with dates. Why do we make time for dates? Even just why do we even make it? And why is it important? I mean, guys say I dated her before we got married. Why do I need to date her now? There's a lot of reasons why. I'm going to share with you a few. But I can tell you basically, it keeps our marriages strong. There's been studies that have shown that marriages where couples date on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, last longer and avoid divorce. So what's your choice? What are you going to do today? Let's talk about why we want to go on dates. What's the purpose of the date? I've got some notes here. So let me go ahead and help read this. I was researching this morning. Dates give us the opportunity to communicate. So this whole problem about not being able to talk is we set aside time to talk. We've had a date night once a week we started right after the kiddos, probably about 36 out of the 40 years. The first 4 years we didn't have a date. We just were alone together and spent a lot of time alone together. Oh, yes, we did have a date night. I remember that because we used to go down to the Dairy Queen and get our deli bars. They only cost 35 cents at the time. You can tell how long ago that was. But we'd save up our money and go do something fun. So a date actually involves 3 parts. And it involves time alone. You may do something together with other people for a while, but you do need some time alone. You need to do a fun activity, something that you both enjoy, or else you alternate doing something one enjoys and then the other. And you need to set aside time for intimacy. So right here in a date, setting up a date once a week gives you time to talk while you're doing your fun activity. You're reconnecting because you're doing something fun and you're finding life enjoyable again. So it's like a little mini vacation. Might only be a couple hours, but it's a mini vacation. And then you have time for sex. All in one date. So you can solve a lot of this by getting dates on your calendar. But Joyce, I've heard so many excuses why we can't go on dates. I tell you, we don't have money. Well, save up a little bit of money or else do free dates. We used to have Coke and candy bar in the backyard while the kids watch movies in the house. It's a free date. We take the boys for a walk in the woods and they would go out running way far out in front of us. And we get to stay, we kind of lag behind and talk and talk. And they knew that when they got to an intersection, they had to stop. So we would be able to go talk and talk, and they could, okay, let me tell them what direction to go next. And we just get to talk and talk and talk. They were with us, but they weren't really with us. So we got to find that time to talk. And then you fit that intimacy time before, after, the next morning, whatever suits your fancy. But it becomes together. Some guys say, I don't want to go on a date. He doesn't want to go on dates, gals are telling me. Well, most guys want to go on dates when they know that sex is part of a date. I can just tell you that. Most guys will. Not all, but most guys will. So why are we having dates? Because it gives us that time to talk and to communicate. We get time set aside to be able to spend together and communicate. We also want to be doing fun and novel activities. These actually will, something maybe like hiking, dancing, card games. These actually have been shown to increase couple satisfaction when we do something new and unique. I had one gal I was talking to, a middle-aged gal. I said, do you have a date? She says, yeah. So we go down to the steak restaurant right downtown, Tony's or whatever his name was. And we go there every Thursday night. I said, are there any other restaurants in town or any other restaurants you wanted to visit? She goes, yeah. I said, so why don't you do something different every once in a while and go to one of those other restaurants? She said to me, I talked to her about a month later. She said, you know what? We started checking out restaurants all over, and we even found this craft fair over here. And we went to this over there. We went to that. That one thing, just breaking out of that mold, doing that exact same thing every single week, got them excited about doing new and different things. And it gives you things to talk about. It's, again, those little mini vacations. And when we start setting aside time for mini vacations, we start finding out how we can make time for a little longer vacation. Most of our dates are 2 to 3 hours. Now people say, I can't, what about the kids? I can't bring, well, I told you about one, about 2 different sides. The kids watching movies while we had a date on the back porch. Another one was going to a park and letting the kids play while we talked and walked. There's lots of ways you can exchange babysitting with a neighbor. I know just about every time we get together with one of our son and daughter-in-laws, we get to watch the grandkids. And why? Because they want to go on a date. And particularly they like us for the overnight dates. So dates can be overnight. Again, that's another way to get a mini vacation. Once a year, I highly recommend you plan it into the schedule for a overnight vacation. Our first one was less than 24 hours. My husband came home about 6 o'clock. I had had everything ready, including the babysitter at the house. We jumped in the car and we went on a date. We were back at the house by noon the next day, and we had a wonderful time. Try it. It's fun. Doesn't have to take a lot of money. We just went in town, had inexpensive meals, and spent time doing fun together, and then did something fun together in the morning. Find those fun things to do. Dating will rekindle that romantic spark and keep the fires burning. When you have time together to talk and doing something fun, then the romance starts again between the two of you, and you want to spend time together. And you go, man, he's still attractive, and that whole sexual thing starts happening again because you've spent time together and you love being together. And really, it works, gals. It works. Just try it. Set up a date time. I'll tell you about another gal in a minute. I'm going to do 2 more. It strengthens our commitment. When we go on dates, we have put each other first. We've said we're not going to work. We're not going to do housework. We're not going to take care of the kids. We're not going to be doing yard work. We're going to set aside 2 to 3 hours for us. Now, gals say, he won't plan the date. Well, then plan it yourself. There's some great sites online. I'll even try to find one to share with you. Where it shares lots of ideas for great dates. And so you don't even have to come up with the ideas. Many of them are inexpensive or free. Check out for free events in your community that you can go to. Find parks to visit. We used to go out for donuts and coffee. Leave the kids when they got old enough to stay by themselves, we'd leave it at the house and we'd go out for donuts and coffee. We were only gone about an hour and a half. It wasn't very long, but it was time for just the 2 of us. When they were in school, we'd get together over lunch. And then when they were in high school, we'd leave them Sunday afternoon and we'd go walking in the woods. We were in Germany, we went walking in the woods, and we were gone a couple hours, a little longer sometimes doing that just because we knew that they were okay. They were teenagers. Dates also relieve the stress. Enjoying time apart from all the other pressing activities. This is the same thing that a vacation does. So a date is a little mini vacation. It's a way to get that spark of romance going again, to get the sex life back on the calendar. And if you include sex as part of your date, you've got it back on the calendar again. But Joyce, we plan a date and the time just gets away from us and we never get to go. Well, I can tell you this much. Our dates have normally been on Friday nights, except for when they were on Saturdays, or on Thursdays, or Wednesdays, or Tuesdays, or Sunday afternoon. I don't think very often we've had dates on Mondays. But rearrange your schedule. Maybe you have to drop something. See, that's part of putting your husband first, above the kids and the rest of the thing. God, health, husband. And part of this, we don't spend that time. We don't set aside the time. I had one gal and she said, all he wants to do is sit and watch TV at night. I said, okay, then you make it a date night. I said, this is how you can make him wanting to watch TV that night a date night, because he didn't want to go on dates. I said, get your favorite food, snack food, and drink. Get it on hand. I said, I suggest you do even buy possibly a pizza or some quick dinner meal you can have so that you know you can relax and not spend a lot of time making dinner. And then go join him on the couch or right beside him if he's in a lounge chair, or invite him to come join you on the couch. Have your favorite snack food and drink there. Sit and watch whatever you're going to watch with him. And snuggle. Put your feet up in his lap. Rub his shoulder. Give his neck a back massage. Neck massage. Touch the guy. See if you can spend 20 minutes touching him in some way. You'd be surprised what's going to happen. You know, just setting aside that time. And her husband started to like it. Fact is, he said, oh, you're here. She put her phone off, turned her phone off, and left it in the kitchen. And he said, oh, why don't we watch a movie since you're here? And so they actually did something else besides just watch TV. Another time, she planned a root beer float date, and she bought all the ingredients for root beer floats because she'd been thinking about it. Now, I tell you, that gal had a significant handicap, and still was finding ways of how to have planned dates for her, she and her husband. The next time I talked, she said, you know what? He decided we were going to go out and go driving around and go look at this new park and stop at this place for a meal after church. He planned the date, but she had to plan the first couple. Sometimes you have to plan them forever, but it doesn't matter. You're still getting time together. I know I planned a lot of our dates until essentially, probably for 20 years, I planned our dates. And in the last 20 years, we've been able to plan them together. Actually, we come up with ideas for planning dates together. We have a brainstorming session. So, no time. Gals, it starts with us. I don't know, maybe he works mid-shift and you're going to have your date mid-afternoon. Maybe he's gone all week and you have to have a date when he comes home. I was coaching one gal whose husband was gone 3 weeks at a time and then home for 2 weeks. Or was it maybe just 10 days? I think he was home for a week, gone 3 weeks at a time, home 1 week a month. So she was planning fun things to do the week he was home. You know, there are ways to work around this. Just telling me you can't mean I don't want to. And part of sometimes gotta say, but we don't. I've been in Bible studies and gals have more reasons. I've given you some of them. Why? What's your reasons why you're not going on a date? Or you can share that with me. So what's your reason? Here. Why do you not go on dates? Do you not go on dates? If that's your question, and if not, if this is you, if you do go on dates, what is one of your favorites? Okay. If you do go on dates, one of your favorites. There's 2 great questions. I'd love for you to share with me. This is really, really interesting. We can really share great ideas with each other. I know when I was speaking down in San Antonio at a MOPS group, we were talking about fun things my husband and I used to do. And actually, when we were dating before we got married, one of the places we liked to stop was near a flight line. And we liked to sit and watch the planes take off and land. And then we were talking about how now they have all this security around airports and you can't see the planes take off and land. Somebody spoke up in the far corner of the room. They said, you know what? If you go down and they named the intersection, they named the hill that was on. They said there's actually a place you can pull off the road right there, and you can watch the airplanes take off and land from there. And so all the gals go, oh, fun thing. Well, if you got little babies, you can have them asleep in the back while you do that. You know, there's inexpensive things to do. One of our recent dates that we went on is we live about an hour out from a major town in East Texas, Tyler, if you know where that is, and about an hour north of there. And so we went into Tyler, into the big city from the woods, to go shopping and to have a dinner. And so we went to one of our favorite restaurants and got some barbecue, Texas barbecue. You know, got to get that Texas barbecue in. And then we went to all the different places that I can't find things out here in the country. You know, all the different stores that they're not out here in the country. And so that was fun. And we came and we talked and we talked and we talked. Another time we were driving to a book convention. No, we'd actually gone to a free event that the military hosted. The USAA, an insurance company, hosts the Valero, which is a golf tournament in San Antonio every year. And they invite the retirees and retired military and active duty military in for free. So we had gone down there to that free event. We had stayed with my husband's sister and brother-in-law. And on the way back home from that, we started talking about what were our long-range goals for the next 20 years. What do we want to accomplish in the next 20 years? And it was some interesting insights. We didn't exactly see eye to eye for a while, so we had to talk about it. And over time, we began to mesh our ideas just because we were talking. Start with a date. That's how you find time to spend with your husband. And then work it in so you find some time to chat with him each day. My husband travels for writing, and he travels more than I do. And he's gone quite a bit of time. And when he's gone, we arrange a time to talk every evening. Sometimes we're so tired, we talk for only 10 minutes. Sometimes we're got tons of exercise and we'll talk energy, you know, because we haven't exercised that much or whatever it is. And we'll talk for half an hour or more. But we just spend time catching up. And then see if you can figure out when can you have an overnighter with your husband. It's fun. I don't know when, you know, it's like having a little mini honeymoon again. Fact is, we arranged it with one of the things we were doing where we had what we call the hotel date. And yeah, it was a hotel date. It was fun. You know, I don't know what you're going to do, but arrange it for yourselves. Plan it in. Decide to make your husband a priority. Decide to find time to be together, and put it in the calendar. If you've got questions about this, please put them in the comment section or send me a message. I would love to hear what your comments are or what your concerns are. We can find time to be together. And if we don't, we put our marriages in jeopardy.